Hello, and welcome back to the Friday Feels episode of the U Up Podcast. I'm Jordana Abraham.
And I am Jared Freed. It is so good to be back here with you, Jordana, but it is especially good to be here with a very special guest, friend of the pod, a returning guest, an all-star to the show, the author of Ask a Matchmaker, Matchmaker Maria's no-nonsense guide to finding love, which is out now. Matchmaker Maria, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome.
It's such a pleasure. It's been too long.
Yes.
I'm happy to be back.
We're happy to have you.
Your last episode was in 2021 when you were on the show, and people loved it. You said you still get DMs about it, right?
Every day.
Every
All
day.
Every day.
I still get DMs every day from that episode.
What's the most common kind of DM you get?
I'm engaged.
I'm engaged.
I'm engaged.
Wow.
So we were
Changing lives.
We were auditing the other day of like how many people have gotten engaged from listening to that episode. So I think at 520 now.
People are going to be like, 520? That's
Come
not,
on, shut
no
the fuck
way.
up.
I'm not kidding.
That's the clip.
Yeah.
This is what I love about Matchmaker Maria. This is what, and I have a blurb in the book because I'm a fan. Look, I'm on the book. Oh, look at this.
That's you.
I just saw it. Look at it.
Tell your parents you're a
and here's
published
my,
author.
I am a published author. There it is, finally.
By proxy.
Matchmaker Maria gets it. You're going to love this book. That's my blurb. But if I could over blurb, let me go into what else I would say.
Expand on the blurb.
Let me expand on the blurb.
Blob's blurb.
A blob, okay? I got the gift of gab. I'm going to blob, okay? I will say this. This is the reason I love Matchmaker Maria. She takes a very emotional subject and really like zones in on
Gives it
the
to you straight,
important
too.
stuff. Gives it to you straight, but like for you to know the numbers, like so let me give you some behind the scenes hilarity. Matchmaker Maria, I got a text from her. She listened to our episode where we asked a TikTok artist to paint the picture of the woman of my dreams.
Yes.
Matchmaker Maria sends me a literal spreadsheet of the women who matched
I texted it to her.
the look.
Yes.
You got this
No, I
text
remember
too?
this. Yes, I remember this,
Matched
yes.
the look of some crazy dream catcher woman from TikTok. And you literally put in the specifics. Yeah. She had like 50 women. She goes, here we go. There it is. Pick one.
Wow.
Pick one.
It's like it almost makes it scary. It almost makes it like, here's the three
and
people.
by the way, those 50 women, they were all Jewish.
Yup.
They were all your height or lower.
Yeah.
They were all
I'm okay
educated.
with height. I don't.
But are
that's
they?
not a parameter.
I was just making
Yeah.
assumptions,
Yeah.
and they were all employed. They all lived in New York City or Florida.
Wow.
You know, I know some of the things that you don't want, so I was like, these.
Yeah,
Here we go. Pick one.
It was like 50 is even too much. You had it like zoned into like 10 women.
Yeah.
And
I was scrolling through like 50, and then I said, okay, these 8 you should go out with. I remember this day.
Yeah, and I think what that does, and like the power of a matchmaker. And I'm pro matchmaker, obviously, because we're friends. But if I'm not going to just say something I don't mean. This is motivating. That's like the fun part of it. Is like, oh my God, in the way that like I can understand like arranged marriage and like taking away all the head trash that gets in the way of like meeting someone.
Right.
You're like,
It's simple.
It's just 10.
Here we go.
It's 10. Let's zone in.
That's chapter 2 in the book.
That's chapter 2 in the book.
Yeah.
That's why you gotta go buy the book.
I want to talk about
Link in the bio, in the episode description. It's called Ask a Matchmaker. Buy it now for 2 reasons. One, it's a fantastic book and it's a subject you love and you want to get into and it's fun. Number 2, Maria's friend of the podcast.
Yes.
We want this book to really
And again,
explode.
from her episode from May 9th, 2021, there were over 500 people engaged. So that could be you.
And technically, we could say 1,020 because 510.
Oh, yeah.
Times 2.
That's true.
I mean,
Oh, look at
Wow.
that.
look at us.
Look at that.
Over 1,000 lives
trend,
changed.
You know that trend that people are doing right now on TikTok of like the butterfly effect?
Right.
And it's like, I accidentally listened to a U Up episode.
Went ahead and got me engaged.
Yes,
Like
look
a
at me now.
long drive
What-
home. And
What is it about that episode? And we'll link to that episode as well in the description of this episode. What is it about that episode that you think got people to
I know
like
exactly
think
what it
differently?
was. I think that was the first time on a really big platform people heard about the 12-date rule method. And for whatever reason, that makes sense to a lot of people's brains. It also makes no sense to some people.
Right.
And, you know, they hate it. There's like a lot of
Now
negative.
the 12
whatever.
date
It's
method is that
polarizing.
you're telling
really
people
polarizing.
you're telling people wait 12 dates to have sex.
Yeah, and there's
is-
Matchmaker, Maria Math, so it ends up being like 2 to 3 weeks.
Right. Because it's
12
like
dates
hangouts.
doesn't-
Yeah.
dates aren't
Right.
necessary.
Intentional time together.
Right.
Like
You
a
have-
FaceTime is a
Yeah,
date.
a FaceTime is a
Okay.
date as long as it's 20 minutes. A phone call's a date as long as it's a minimum of 20 minutes. And because you put those in there, people are like, okay, I'm going to start calculating. And when people send me DMs, they send me screenshots of their notes app from 3 years ago when how they calculated, the 12 date rule. So when that episode came out, the reaction was very quick. Like, I mean, that same day, there were obviously new followers, but there was also like a lot of people saying, I'm going to start doing this.
Right.
Right.
And they're DMing me this. And so then, maybe 6 months down the line, I get, oh my God, I'm in the best relationship ever. I've never been able to communicate this way. Because they had established a certain emotional compatibility by the time they became exclusive.
Right.
And they're giving me another update. And then it's like, okay, he just asked me to get married. So like I have this DM history of which I'm not responding to because it's impossible. I have like 2,000 unread DMs in my inbox.
Right.
But I could see a history of like, wow, this person listened to this episode.
Incredible.
Right.
But
Yeah.
every time I have a screenshot folder of all these engagement rings. I'm like Thanos. I'm just collecting rings. So I remember when I came on that podcast, I said, the 12 date rule has gotten like 2,000 engagements in 2021. Since then, I'm like, oh, there's got to be at least 5,000, 6,000. I have no idea. I've stopped. I
Right.
can't.
Those
like-
are just the people who are telling you.
Yeah.
Too,
Right.
yeah.
And it's funny because the 12 date rule, like from, let's say on average, the other side, so to
Right,
speak.
yeah, yeah.
Let's say it's mostly men who are getting like given the 12 date rule, right?
Yeah.
The other side of it is like, I think when I've been in positions where, it goes longer as
Yeah.
far as like, you and I think sometimes we get some like we deal with the center part of the bell curve. Like we're dealing with normal everyday Joe and Jim. You want to get into the workings of psychos and assholes. Yeah, you can say that there's holes in the 12 date rule.
Well, actually, no, that's what's perfect about it because I don't want you to sleep with a psycho who will show
Right.
you their true
Right.
colors quickly. But sometimes if we have sex too soon, and it's, I think to your point, the thing that I get a lot is, and not necessarily always from men, but it's like, oh, you're prude. And I'm like, no,
That's not what this
that's
is
not
about.
what this is
Right.
at all.
It's
you know?
about like establishing an emotional connection before you establish a physical connection. to me.
Right,
That's
because
what-
physical
yeah.
is easy. Like, okay, and if you don't have good sex after, because that's another fear that most
Right.
women have. Like, what if the sex is bad? Okay, if the sex is
Right.
bad, then if you can't
It's
fix
not like
it
the
within
2-year
6
rule.
weeks, yeah.
Yeah.
But
I-
it's like if you can't fix it within 6 weeks, because hopefully by then you've have some communication channels to talk about why it's not good, communicate to make the
Right.
sex better. But it's always like, well, you've had really great sex with people that never called you again.
Right.
So who's, I'm just, this
That's
is just
true.
one
Well,
method.
the people that are against it, to say that there's people against it, I think that they're bad actors, to be honest. Like, I think like this is just saying you can do it or you cannot do it.
Yeah.
Like, this is just a thought.
Also, rules are meant to be broken.
Right.
There's
Like-
people that do it at 8 dates, and I'm like, you don't have
Good
to
for you.
apologize.
Yeah.
They DM me. I'm
You're not
so
gonna get in
sorry. And I'm
trouble.
like, I don't
Yeah.
care.
But to me, this is a perspective shift. This
Yeah.
is kind of like what we promote on this show is like, hey, be a better buyer. Take your time. Look at the person in a
Right.
different way.
Turn
than
some
you
people off,
Right.
too.
Turn some
Yeah.
people off.
Yeah.
And do you like them? Like that gives you time. Not do they like me?
Yeah.
Like I was on a date. I'm just like, I'm thinking of like specifics in my life where like I got more information and that more information made me go, yeah, we could be physical, but I'm not gonna put someone through that. Like
Right.
I think that we don't give credit, not credit, but like I think we think men don't think of these things. Like they're going, oh, that was the rule, that's their line. Like I've been on dates where someone reveals to me, I'm trying to be more thoughtful with my dating and
Yeah.
I'm really looking to meet someone and I'm trying to be more, what's the word everyone uses?
Intentional.
Mindful. And then we, have a nice time and I go home, they go home. And then I get, we cancel a couple times, go to make another date. And then they go, and I go, listen, we're having issues making this date. It's probably not worth it for us to go again. And they're like, well, if you want to like just chill.
Well,
and I'm like, you're doing the thing.
Right.
that you didn't want to
That
do.
you literally, and it's like, what am I going to do? Like, oh, cool. Now we can hang. No, I'm going to go, good luck.
Right. Yeah.
Well,
Right.
How did you come up with 12?
I think 12 is a really good number that humans enjoy participating in. So if you think about like 12 horoscopes, 12 months, it's a digestible number.
Right.
But what really came down to it was like what is a date? So to me, it was like, okay, phone call, video call, or in-person date. No voice, audio notes, no texting. Those count for nothing. And what I started
sorry to
building
interrupt, but that's
yeah.
an important thing too to take away from that.
Yeah.
Just
Texting
the idea,
means nothing.
Texting means
Texting
nothing.
means
Right.
nothing.
So like to know that to establish that helps people.
So when I
think.
started making this method, this was back in, I want to say like 2011 when I started rolling this out and trying to figure out what's the right number because
Right.
people want numbers, you know?
Yeah, it's soothing.
That's how it always is, right?
Yeah.
So I remember just thinking, okay, well, what am I seeing at work? And I'm seeing at work as a professional matchmaker that like, if they do a video call or back then it was like Skype, if they do an audio call and it's this amount of minutes, they've discovered something about someone. So if you only talk to someone for 5 minutes, which is the majority of everyone's phone calls,
Right.
you don't have enough context of like how their day was, right? Or like how did they deal with that conflict at work? Like the things that we share
Intimacy,
naturally, right?
yeah.
And also getting to the place of vulnerability, like just that building block. So I was like, okay, well, that's 20 minutes. And then I started thinking, okay, well, how many dates can we have in one day? And I was like, okay, it's probably 2. And then because I've seen the opposite where people go on those marathon dates where they're like 10 hours long, you
Right.
know, brunch, movies, walk.
Do you
sex at
advise
your
against
place.
that?
I hate that.
Okay, you
I don't
hate a
think-
marathon date.
A first date should never be a marathon date.
Okay.
Especially
How
if you
long
met
should
off
it
the
be?
internet. An hour and a half, 2 hours. I think
No matter how good it's going.
no matter how good it's going.
Okay.
How do you end a date that's going really
I'm having
well?
a great time. I
have a
need to go
meeting.
home. I'm Cinderella.
It's time to go.
It's time.
I would always have,
I'm
have
tired.
an early meeting.
just blame me. That's what I always tell people. Like, just say
My matchmaker said
Maria.
so.
Yeah. You know what? That works though. People
I don't want to
do
have
it.
sex with you, so I need to leave. Can I ask you a question about matchmaking
Yeah.
generally? You know, because obviously we have a lot of single listeners who are like, maybe, what would you say to someone who's like a little skeptical of matchmaking?
You
and
should
if
be
it can work?
skeptical.
You should
oh
be.
my God.
Okay.
Yes. There's
Yeah.
a lot of bad actors in my industry.
So how do you know if like and because I think people get reached out to, or people reach out to people, like how do you know if someone's legit? How do you know? Because there's no like, you know, there's no like FDA clearance for.
Well, there is a trade association
Yeah.
called the Matchmakers Alliance, of which like 400 matchmakers belong to.
Is that
Okay.
a trustworthy one?
I founded it.
You found, okay.
But that was in 2010.
She's the cult leader.
Well, we
No,
trust
no.
it, right.
But listen, I founded it in 2010.
She just collects her dues.
Right.
Well, I got to vouch. I gotta
Pyramid
be,
scheme.
I need to be a steward.
Founder, matchmaker Maria here.
How
on
do
the
they
show.
join your Ponzi scheme?
I need to be a steward of my industry. So let me just say really quick about the Alliance. Like, it started in 2010. It was established in 2012. We have our annual conferences. It is the leading trade association of that part of the dating industry, because the dating industry is huge, right? You have the online dating sites, you have the adult sites, and then you have matchmaking. And then
Right.
also you have the processors, right?
But your
of these
background
things.
is from government. Like you're kind of setting this up as like in a government.
So I'm not the GLI. So you're talking about the Global Love Institute, which is the certifying body. So we
But
have two
saying-
types of
but
organizations.
you started this organization. I'm saying like your
Yeah.
background that makes sense to want to have like, some
know,
sort of like structure to this.
I love that we're talking about this because I've never had anyone talk about this with me in public, and I think it's worth saying. One of the reasons why I'm seen, I think, as a leader in my industry is because I remember what it was like before the Alliance. So before the Alliance, it was just the GLI, which is great. They're our certifying body. They are what creates matchmakers, right?
Okay. They give you a certificate that says you're
Yes.
certified to.
You're certified. Congrats. And it's a very
To
it's
set someone up on a
and
date.
low
Okay.
barrier to entry. Anyone can join, right?
Right.
What's the barrier to entry? What do you get?
$5,000 probably.
An
So you
online
pay
course?
$5,000 and you take
I don't
a
know. I
course?
don't know the cost, but like
Okay.
it's a low barrier to entry. There's courses. You're supposed to take these modules. You're supposed to sign an agreement of ethics. Like there is a process that's existed
Sure.
for 20
So
To be a
years.
certified
If
matchmaker.
you,
Okay.
So certified matchmaker on the level of life coach.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not to besmirch, but
Well, yeah,
No, no,
take
no,
that
it's-
information
I'm
for
trying-
what you think of it
I think
as.
what we're
If you-
trying, yeah, and I think what we're trying to do here, and I'm excited to hear what you have to say about it, is like, again, to bring it back to like, how does someone know, like, if there's a million matchmaking companies,
Right.
Better
like,
buyers.
yeah,
We're
how
trying
do
to
they?
create
Right.
Yeah.
So to kind of go back then, I remember going to a conference in 2009 because they all host conferences, and I just remember like thinking like, wow, everyone's a little island. Like nobody talks to each other. You know, there were speakers, but no one's saying like, okay, how much do you charge? If I send you a lead, how much are you going to pay me? Like the things that make operations of any business, you know, be it accounting, mining, matchmaking, right?
Sure.
Like it's all the same in the end. You're running a business. And I remember starting like a Facebook group that was private for matchmakers that I trusted, and with 2 other colleagues that are from different cities. And I said, let's create, and I remember making a video. I was 25 years old. And I was like, let's create something where we can collaborate with each other. Let's change these things. And what was the biggest vouch for that was that the person who leads the GLI joined the alliance too in that first week. And then a committee a board was made, all these things. Like we have our conference, it's huge. But what ended up happening was that the only way to join the alliance is for another alliance member to vouch for you. There's no way to enter if you don't know another alliance matchmaker. And then if you do bad, it looks bad on the person who vouched you too.
Okay.
That's an important thing.
So that
It's like a setup. We talked about.
setup.
yeah. So there's like
Right.
probably like 6,000 certified matchmakers, but there's only like 400 in the alliance.
Okay.
That's how the Comedy Cellar works in New York. The only way to get an audition is for 2 comedians to recommend you.
Yeah.
Any like red flags if you're talking to a matchmaker that make you think that they're not legit?
Yeah, I think I don't really hang out with a lot of red flag matchmakers. Luckily, like that's not part of my social circle. Most matchmakers that I know, I trust them. I think ultimately, if you're hiring a matchmaker, you need to ask them about what their methodology is in recruiting for you. So, a lot of matchmakers, they might do outbound recruitment, which is they'll go on Tinder or LinkedIn or Hinge and like look for matches for you and bring them in.
Oh, okay, like those annoying people who would message you on a dating app being like, I'm not interested, but do you want to join the
I hate
the
those
Ponzi
people.
scheme? Okay.
That is such a turnoff for me.
Yeah.
I would never.
Yeah.
Like in my life.
I hate that.
I hate it. I had it happen. Someone matched with me. Hey, I'm running
That's
an
the
event.
new door-to-door salesman.
Yeah, get out of here. I am
Yeah.
so offended by that. Like, and I'm not proud of it. I'm just telling you, emotionally
Yeah.
angry.
Right.
Yeah.
And they do that all over LinkedIn too. And there's a few alliance members who that's like their operations of how they recruit. I can only
I'm a
speak
loser
for
enough to be on this app. I'm not that much of a loser. It's really the feeling I have. Yeah.
But for my company, we always took the approach of inbound from the beginning.
Okay.
I don't like, maybe it's because I started my company as a single person and I didn't like that either.
If someone came up to me and goes, hey, do you want to lose some weight? I'd be like, where'd that fucking come from?
Right. It's like when you're getting a manicure and they ask if you want an upper lip wax.
Yeah.
It's like,
Same. Totally.
excuse you.
Yeah. It's like, oh, my eyebrows, thanks. Yeah.
Is that what you're wearing? Yeah, this is what I planned on wearing.
But we took the inbound approach from the beginning, and what that meant was that I had to be a trusted person online. At the time when I started, I was on Foursquare, so I would just show up to events and do you remember Foursquare? But anyway. Of
course.
But it would say Matchmaker Maria on the thing, and I would just show up, and then people on their own would come to me. I never wanted to be the kind of person who's like, are you single? I'm a matchmaker, which
Right.
I literally just quoted Dakota Johnson in the trailer of The Materialists, but let's keep moving on. But that's what it was. And maybe it's because I also have like a height privilege, like I'm really tall. So people tend to gravitate towards tall people. Okay. So I could get away with that, I suppose, back then. But then it also became like an online thing. I had a blog, Facebook, now Instagram, and I guess TikTok, but like there was a place where I can create content that people can trust, and then on their own they can join. I don't have to reach out to people.
I see. And who pays, the man or the woman?
For our service, we predominantly only take male clients for matchmaking. We have other programs for women that I feel like have a higher success rate than matchmaking. But if a person wants to hire a matchmaker, we refer them to our matchmaking partners that only take women. And the reason for that is because it has to do with like emotional bandwidth. I used to take the straights, like both men and women, and also LGBTQ.
Okay.
And at some point, in 2017, I was ready to have a nervous breakdown. Also, I was like 8 months pregnant. So I was like, and I remember thinking like something has to change here. And I think what that changes, like I have to just focus on who do I want to talk to all day. I like spending my whole day talking to women. So if I only like to talk to women, then I can only take male clients. So I'm talking to women. There are other matchmakers who like taking women clients because they can stand spending all day talking to men.
Right.
And I don't want to do that. And then with our lesbian, because we were the biggest LGBTQ matchmaking service for a few years, we then sold those parts to our trusted matchmaker who only deals with the lesbian community, a trusted matchmaker only deals with the gay community, And
Got it.
So, which is nice to hear that you pass people. You go,
your match has to be with your matchmaker first.
Selective. Yeah.
Your match has to be with your matchmaker first.
Yeah, that's the first. I mean, we say no to people people every day. It's not, you can pick up on what they're looking for. And I'm like, I don't have this.
Right. And I mean, that leads me to my next question is like, is matchmaking more successful for a certain kind of person than another kind of person? Like, or like, what do you have to, like, what kind of mindset
If you
do you
pick
have to
the
go
right
into
matchmaker and you let the matchmaker do their job, you will be successful.
Okay.
They're not mutually exclusive. So you have to both have
Both
to
of them. You do
exist,
both
right?
of those
So
things. Okay.
for instance, I've had men come that are like, their whole personality is going to Burning Man. Right. And I have had clients who go to Burning Man once in their life, but not the whole personality. I'm not your matchmaker. Right.
Okay.
I know another matchmaker that I can send you to.
So like your vibe is sort of indicative of the kind of clients that you're going to have who are more similar to your vibe.
Right. And so the typical clients that tend to work with us are, men that are 30 to 45, any race, any religion, who most likely work 9-to-5 jobs. I mean, we have a few entrepreneurs, of course, but like they have a place to be. They're not sitting on a yacht.
Okay.
There are matchmakers who only deal with the yacht guys.
Billionaire matchmakers. Okay.
And it's hard sometimes because I do have right now 2 billionaire clients, and it's really hard on me.
Can I have their names? I'm just kidding.
But it can be really hard on me, the matchmaker, because they're not surrounded by people that tell them no.
Right.
And so I have to sometimes say, nope, you don't get to date her. Like, I'm happy that you are interested in this person, but she's not interested in you.
Right.
Or I don't have access to her.
We get 2 questions a lot.
Yeah.
Where are the men?
This
is a question.
That's literally the first sentence in my book.
I am a man, and I get this question. I'm like, I'm 40. I'm single. I'm like, yeah, good question. Where am I?
There's literally a Sex and the City episode too, where like Carrie gets paid to host a seminar, and she gets up onto the stage and she takes the first question, and they're like, "Where are all the men?" And she's like, "I don't know," and then they like boo her off the stage.
I don't remember that one. That's good.
Do you have an answer for it? Because I'm kind of stumped on it. Because I'm like, if I like put a dot on a Google map, I'd be like, well, I'm in a bar.
Yeah.
I go to the gym. I go to
who are you there with?
podcast room.
Who are you there with
rooms,
when you're at the bar?
Myself.
Okay, well, you're the anomaly.
Are they with other men?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think.
Oh, the Knicks game right now. The Knicks are in the playoffs. So I was at 3 Sheets last night to watch the game, and there were men, I guess, but I don't know.
Not as good of a catch as him.
Yeah. All the good men, I think, are hanging out with their good friends.
Yeah.
And what I advocate for a lot in the book is like, you have to build your community. And I know women are sick of hearing like, oh, go get a social life and then you'll find the man.
Right.
But it's actually true, because I don't think women realize, like, and this is for men too, that when I say go build a social life, I don't mean go pick up a hobby and now you have a whole new group of friends. Like, I'm talking about like, you actually have to participate in your local community. So like if I remember saying in my book, if I were single right now, I would get season tickets to my local sports team. And when I say local sports team, I'm not talking about the Jets or the Giants or the Eagles. I'm talking about the Somerset Patriots baseball team.
Okay. So AAA.
The West
baseball.
Village Whalers.
Is that a name?
No, I made it up.
So you're saying go local.
Right.
Like this
Super
is,
local, because you know who's there? People in your neighborhood, people in adjoining towns.
And get 2 tickets, and it's cheap. AAA baseball is a pretty good deal.
You're talking about like $300 for the whole year, and like,
and it's a place. It's like it becomes your Soho house.
Yeah, it does. It does. And I've seen it happen. I go to these things with my friends too, and I'm like, wow, I saw that guy here last week. What's your name? Oh, so next time I see him, okay, hey, Chris, how's it going?
It's crazy because there's some people that are super successful telling you to just go up to someone while buying a melon at the grocery store and then saying, let them.
They tell you to go look confused at Home Depot. And I'm like,
that's crazy. No, but I like this idea of like being purposeful. Like, I mean, I was just at a wedding. And I thought it was so interesting. And I would love to hear what you guys think of this. I was at the wedding, and there were I think there were 5 single people, 40-year-old wedding. Okay. And there was probably 5 single people, but 2 of the people from either side of the wedding had already been on dates.
Oh.
And it didn't turn into them getting married. But then I didn't even talk to one other single person. It was almost like, because they didn't
see you together?
No, we were seated apart, and he and her didn't I think it's the responsibility of the people who've already dated. If it didn't work out, you still act like you date. So the rest of us
Don't make
Yeah.
it
feel
weird.
comfortable. Yeah,
Okay,
don't make it weird
Don't
so
make
that
it
we can all
weird.
approach
Hello?
each other.
Yeah.
But it became they kind of stayed to their own sides of the room. So like I think all the other
Why didn't you make a move to the other side?
I didn't know who was even at
Right.
play, you
Yeah.
know? Like
The
there
Bloods
was
and
no
the
mix.
Crips at the
Right.
wedding. At my wedding, as a matchmaker, I was like, okay, who? Like, I looked at the guest list. I was like, who here is coming alone? Because I had a kind of destination wedding. I got married in Greece. 2/3 of people lived in Greece, so I was just like, this is not destination. in my
Destination for
eyes.
you.
Yeah, it's destination for some people.
Okay.
But I was like, okay, who's not coming with someone? And then we made that list. And then George and I, that's the name of my husband, we sat down and we're like, okay, who do you think is gonna like hook up? And
So
then-
you're pro singles table.
fuck yeah.
There are people that are
But you have to-
anti-singles table. They don't like it. They think you're
those
being
are people who are insecure.
hideous.
Those people are
have to-
insecure in their singleness.
Okay,
Right.
because I knew this. I knew that 100 people were coming to Greece for my wedding, right? So what we decided to do, especially for the single people, because that's who I cared about the most. I don't want the 20 people that were single coming. There was like 27 people coming to my wedding that were single. I didn't want them to feel like how people feel.
Well, I was once at a wedding. I literally, the woman came to the table. She goes, "Oh, I'm at the discard table." She
Yeah,
called
I
it the
remember this.
discard table.
Yeah.
So we
as
did
if we were
something.
the junk drawer.
We did something lavish. We told them we want you to come. It's a 3-day wedding. So on the Thursday before my wedding, like 2 days before, we paid for a tour bus to take them to the Acropolis. We had a tour guide. We had lunch. Then the next day we had a beach party, and then on Sunday we finally forced these people who have been on a bus and they've been to the Acropolis. Like they've done all these things. Now you get to sit next to each other, and a lot
Did
of,
anyone hook up?
Yeah,
Did anyone stay together?
yeah.
I got,
wow.
I got fucked.
Should have been invited
This
to
wedding. I went to the
this
wrong
didn't know
wedding.
each other
I
then.
know. I went to
Right.
the wrong wedding.
Well,
Would you have gone to Greece though? I mean,
I would
Yeah,
imagine
I like Greece.
if you're a matchmaker.
A feta stove.
I love that. I love Greece. I would go back and very.
with your
Greece
olive
guy.
oil.
Yeah. If I'm gonna guess, the biggest like hurdle that you deal with is people being like, I don't like this match. I'm hotter than them. Or like, I don't
No.
like this match. I'm more successful than them. Like, I want someone who's like, you're not matching me with someone who, in my mind, I think is like the level for me. Do you not get that?
I have not heard either of those things.
Really?
I will tell you.
Go ahead.
Am I allowed to talk about you?
You can talk about me.
Yeah.
I will
Okay.
say that was not. I don't think that was my.
Those were not. I've never heard those sentences, but
Well,
I know
that's like very blunt. I don't know.
I
No,
know,
Maria's
no,
blunt
yeah.
in her actions though. She wouldn't put you with. I actually trust when I've been set up by Maria. There was never a thought of like, who is this animal? That was never a
Okay.
thought.
Oh, then
Okay,
she must
so
be. That's what I'm saying.
she's
Because
good.
if I were going to imagine, I feel like that would be in my head. It would be like people would be annoying about like, oh, I could do better than that.
I don't ever hear that because I know
No
what.
one's as horrible as I am.
Yeah.
But I think that happens with
I
friend.
think, look, no. I think
setup.
I know what you're trying to say, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is, I pride myself on looking at this as an art. So if I'm presenting you matches, I'm looking at one, what are you attracted to? And I asked this way before a contract is signed.
Right.
Right. But I'm also asking like, what's your socioeconomic circle?
Okay.
What's your lifestyle? Like I'm asking all these questions. So then when I do present you matches, I have never heard someone say, how dare you? Or like, I could do better or whatever. What it usually
How
is.
dare you?
How dare you?
What usually it is
Yeah.
though.
Jordana takes off her white gloves, smacks you in the face. How could you? Have you
Yeah.
seen my matching?
Stop it.
But usually though is the no. Like I've heard
Right.
the no's. I've heard no's from Jared is
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm gonna vibe with this person.
Okay.
Or
That's
I-
a euphemism, though,
It's
isn't it?
right. It is,
Right?
but it's an uncomfortable.
Well, yeah,
Here-
that's what I say. I don't find her attractive. Right. But I don't
Right.
think it is attractive because I'm showing him attractive women. Like I'm not blind either. I'm not.
So when you said it's not my vibe, what did you mean?
There's like a 30 million thing. I think
It's
that's the
the-
thing that no one
it's
wants
the
to admit.
thing.
to.
Oh, I remember what it was.
You, well, you have like things in the back of your head that you kind of check off when you're swiping, and some you do
Yeah.
faster than others.
it's your bias. It's your own. Like
It's uncomfortable. I think it's like one of those things that, like, on the internet,
Mm-hmm.
if you ever wrote them down or said them out loud, someone would make a TikTok face
Oh,
in
you'd
the
be a
camera.
monster. Of
Look
course,
at this
yeah.
asshole. But these are the
He told me all the
human
things though. I know all the things that Jared told me, right? Which
Yeah.
I
Right.
don't want to repeat because I appreciate having
Right, well,
confidentiality with.
he showed me. I think like
signed- she signed- we signed a
Well, you
HIPAA.
had like the post. I remember you filling out like a post-date survey of some
Yeah,
sorts
yeah.
about like
Wow, we're going years back.
What you thought of the dates,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, that's obviously you don't show to the date.
No, sometimes we do.
Oh, you
I'll be
do?
like, hey, we gotta, because if one person
She made a
says
TikTok.
if one person's an opinion,
She gave me feedback from the dates.
If one person says it, it's an opinion, but if multiple people start saying something about you on dates, it's a fact, right?
Do you remember the feedback that I got? You could feel free.
I don't remember.
That it was like a work-heavy conversation. That was one thing that you said to me, that like it was a lot of like work stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you know,
I've had to say that feedback to a lot of guys.
Yeah.
I have to keep reminding men to like take off your Apple Watch before you get into the date. Because you're getting the water reminder and they're like, oh, when is this date going to be over? And it's like, no, just take a sip of your water. You know,
it's so funny.
Right.
There you go.
But I remember that feedback because like it's hard for me specifically too, because my social and my work is so intermingled. Like, and
I mean, I've said this in the past to you too. I think your match is someone who has just no idea who you are and is just proud that you're working and passionate about what you do.
See, I think you would be like a little insulted. If
he is insulted. That's why it's always the ego
very
thing.
fine line between insult and like I'm okay with it. Okay. I think that like if someone didn't know me, I would be totally fine with it. But if then,
but they would have to be like excited about it,
right?
Yeah.
Right. Curious,
yeah.
You want curious,
yeah.
Not with like. I've had people tell me they don't listen to anything I do after like 7 times on a date, and you're like, okay, I get it.
Yeah,
like,
right.
It feels like you're trying to like tell me something else here.
Yeah,
you know, there's a fine,
which is like I'm not that into you as much as like I'm not fangirling you on this date. I know what they're trying to do, but to kind of go back to Jordana's point, right, is that I do get pushback. I get pushback every single day from my clients. This is why it's like, this is a really hard job. It looks nice on TV, I suppose, but it's really frustrating. I will tell you that this past month, I've probably cried on the phone with one of my mentors like 4 times because I have a difficult client right now who just says no to everything. And he doesn't have a reason. And it's just that this person is a bull in the romantic china shop that I've said. And, you know, it is what it is. And he's happy.
Right.
But I'm unhappy. Because I'm like, what am I getting wrong here? I don't know, like, how many more people can I show you that I want to set you up with?
What do you think it is?
I think I think that like in any job, 20% of your clients are going to be hard, right? Mm-hmm. And I think in matchmaking, I will tell you that 20% of my clients, I don't think they hire me to be successful. I think they hire me to either make their parents shut up or to tell their friends, see, even a matchmaker can't do it. And I know who that 20% is a month into the contract. When I set them up on their first 2 dates, I see their behavior and I'm like, you're just gonna turn out this contract for the next 6 months and see what God
So
willing.
when I say like, it was like, who shouldn't sign up? Who's matchmaking not for? It sounds like it's for those people.
I mean,
who
I don't mind taking your money.
Not really doing it for the.
Yeah, but I wouldn't know that though, right? Because I don't know your dating personality when I meet you. It's like 3 weeks in. So I'll give you an example of a good client, right? We had a client who signed up on August 1st. Quite religious, right? He wore a turban, and that doesn't make you religious, but nonetheless, like it's a religious marker, right? And we've had clients who wear turbans all the time, but he was also kind of like struggling with his spirituality at the time too. So he was like also conflicted, and I had to explain this to women because that's what he wanted. He wanted a woman who's also in the ambiguous part of spirituality, because he doesn't know how long he'll stick to it,
Right.
Right. And I was like, okay, I got you.
I could see why that's very difficult for him. Like, let's say you're in this group that is like spends their Friday, Saturdays a certain way, and you're like questioning it, but the only people you meet are people in that group, or you get someone that doesn't understand the group at all. Like he has like a very difficult
So we always
plight.
ask people, and I remember even asking like, what do you think the obstacles are going to be in matching you? We always ask that in a welcome call, and they tell us, right? And so
what do they usually say? Or like
usually it'll be like, oh, my height or my politics or maybe they don't think they have any obstacles, which is fine. Or they'll say, I'm picky. I will tell you right now that I'm picky. And I'm like, okay, well, we'll see if you're picky. You know, and some people are picky. Some people are not. But in this case though, he was like, I said to him, I don't ever ask them if I have their trust, right? You have to earn that. But I said to him, here's what good clients do. And I always say this, good clients will let us do our job. Clients that might not be successful are clients who get into the kitchen too much and tell us, nope, 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 nope. I still have to set you up on dates to learn about you. If you're going to say no to everything, this is not going to be helpful for me.
Right.
Right.
You have to trust the process.
Yeah. And so I said that to him and he goes, Maria, and to the rest of the team, he's like, just do what you got to do. You know, you have my faith. I'm like, okay, it was spiritual. I'm your God. Let's go. So I knew what to ask for in the match meetings. And so we met about, I think, 8 women that week. And one of them, you know, we said, like, how about your spirituality? She's like, yeah, you know, I'm Punjabi, but I don't know how I feel about it. Okay, ding, let's look at the rest of the stuff now, you know, and we asked her all the other questions. They had the same socioeconomic circle, which means that they might have this participate in the same lifestyle.
That's kind of another question I wanted to ask you is like, do you think you can match people who are different levels of like socioeconomic status? Can you date outside of your like tax bracket?
If only if power is involved.
If power is involved, then you can.
Yeah, like there's a lot of models dating billionaires.
Right.
Those models didn't go to college.
So there's a power trade-off for dating outside of your socioeconomic status.
Probably, but I don't think it necessarily works in long-term compatibility because, you know, that socioeconomic circle is also going to have your own biases, what you need to unlearn from your parents, things that you need to unpack when you're dating someone to get married, right? So anyway, to go back to that client, I just want to finish. I just want to finish because it's like my favorite story. So sign up August 1st. His first date was August 12th, I think. They're engaged.
Wow.
Like that was the first match.
August?
Yeah.
First person you went out with.
Yeah.
Just
and that's what I'm saying. Like
Homer.
I've had so many clients that do this. They're like, just do your job. I'll go on the dates. Mm-hmm. Great. I don't think they ever last more than 3 or 4 months in our system. I've had a few clients who are like, it's their last match and that's when they get married to, like their 12th match. But I'm like, okay, those, you know, aces. But then I'll have other clients who it's like, nope. And I'm like, I don't even know where, I can't invent women.
Right. I mean, do you ever tell anyone that their standards are unrealistic?
Yeah, all the time.
Right.
And I'm like, you just made it so unrealistic that if you had told me this from day one, I would have never taken you on as a client. I say that to them.
Right.
Yeah.
And some of this is like, you know.
And they go, well, I just want quality over quantity, Maria. And I'm like, yeah, but I still have to follow the contract law, you know?
Right.
Right.
I mean, I've seen you talk about this before. Something you put numbers to is like, oh, I want a tall guy who's also Jewish. And you're like, let's look at the numbers on this, like the amount of
how many Jewish guys are 6'4"?
You're not a wizard.
Right. but it's something that you see and you go, okay, that's fun to joke about. Look at this short loser. But
in my book, I do talk about matchmaking, right? And I talk about the difference between what my grandmother did and what I do, right? My grandmother lived in a culture that was homogenous. And, you know, everyone's the same race, everyone's the same religion during a time of war, during a time of famine. And she's setting up nice kids from nice families with other nice kids from nice families, right? She didn't have to deal with different religions, different politics. Like that was not a thing. And because marriage then was just considered an alliance, a way to create a microeconomy in that village so that people can survive.
Right.
It was not a love thing. And what I do here is vastly different, especially when money is exchanged. Remember, I think in that 2021 podcast, I talked about like, I think my grandmother got paid in fish and eggs and goat, you know, and I'm getting paid like cold hard cash, right? And well, a wire transfer, but you know. Okay. But to that point though, in the book, I talk about how like as a professional matchmaker in 2025, what I and all of my colleagues, all matchmakers have to do is we have to help our clients weigh the reality check with the wish list.
Right.
You can tell me that you want, this happened to me recently where a client was like, I want them to have at least 3 houses because I have 3 houses. And I'm
so
like,
we need 6 houses total between us. Right.
And I'm like, what? Like,
what if it's a really big house? Like those 2?
Yeah, but like, what is this wish list? Like, what is this metric? So I have to meet a ton of, and it's like, you hear these things and they never tell you ahead of time sometimes. Like I have a client right now who has like a crazy height restriction. Like she has to be 5'9", and which is fine, I suppose, but he's not 6'7", he's 6 feet. And I'm like, and then he just, I constantly push the boundaries. I'm like 5'8", like I sent him 5'8" matches. No, he doesn't even look at them.
Like a real estate agent.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. And that takes away the magic of what like I know I can accomplish. Like I think a matchmaker's role in 2025 is to help people acknowledge the loneliness and help them date better without any fatigue, right? Like that's why we coordinate first and second dates. My job is not to be the barista at Starbucks taking down your order from the secret menu.
Right.
But that's what it feels like sometimes.
So your job is more to like introduce people to to people to get a better sense of like to narrow down the right person
I
for
need
them.
to calibrate the search at some point, right?
Right.
And it only happens if you go on 2 or 3 dates to do that. Like I did, I only knew Jared as a podcast host, as a comedian, also as a friend before I set you up. But then when I set you up, I was like, oh, I know a whole level about Jared that I was not aware of. Nothing bad, right? But it's like, okay, I have a clear understanding of like who you should be with. And when you are in the mental space, again, we can explore that. Right. But I do text you sometimes where I'm like, I have a person.
She'll have someone. Yeah.
He'll leave me on read.
So,
not always, but sometimes.
Amazing. Wait, so for the book, what would you say is like the number one piece of advice? I mean, obviously they need to read it to like fully get it. Like, what do you think is like the thing that most people are missing?
The link is in the bio.
Link in the bio.
Ask a Matchmaker. It's if you're watching on YouTube, I'm holding it up. Beautiful book, great on the shelf, but even better to read.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. And I suggest the back cover.
Yes. It has Jared's name on it.
It has my name.
So what you should know about this book is 3 things. One, it's a book of storytelling. So it's not just like, well, here's how you're going to date. There's a lot of stories from my job, but also stories from my family. Like I do talk about Greece and my heritage a lot to weave in also the dynamics of American dating as well. Like I'm trying to show like a counterpoint of like
how
the
old school, new school perspective.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's
matchmaking is in the Greek blood. I mean, like
it's in the Jewish blood.
It's in the Jewish blood, but I mean, like that whole My Big Fat Greek Wedding, like that whole movie is like
that. It starts off with parental matchmaking.
Yeah.
Right. And that's a very popular thing that happened until 1980. I talk about why it stopped in 1980. So it's a book of storytelling. The second thing you should know is that the book is quite inclusive. I wrote it with the idea that like, I bet there's a lot of people that are in relationships who might want to read this as well. In fact, I had an interview yesterday with a man who is married with his wife and they got, they had the advanced copy. They read it together, which I thought was really cute. But he's like, you saved my marriage because now they're talking about things that they haven't ever talked about. And they're going to go to counseling. And I was like, whoa, like I was not expecting that kind of review.
So the book is for everyone.
The book is for everyone. And then number 3.
Did they read it to one another? We had someone write in about they read to, we had a big debate over do you think it's weird for a couple to read to one another before bed?
I read to my husband.
Oh,
he's dyslexic. He's dyslexic. What am I supposed to do here?
Girls.
But
it's one for the chicks.
The third thing that I think is really good in the book, though, is that I give context to the loneliness epidemic. And that is like something that I'm very passionate about. Like, I don't think it's women's fault. And I don't think it's a lot of men's fault. I think what's happened right now in this country is the natural conclusion of 7 decades of promoting the nuclear family after World War II, right? In no other Western country and also in Asia, like you have squares, you have community involvement, you have a collectivist culture. And here we're so individualistic. Like I think about when I go to Greece every summer, if I meet a 29-year-old man who lives with his parents, I don't think anything about it, right? Okay, he's at home, he talks to his grandma every day, aces. But if you meet a 29-year-old man here who lives with his parents, he's seen as a failure, but so are his parents. Why? Because the parents didn't launch the next generation of a nuclear family, right? So what that does is that it makes people feel like failures. It makes people move in with people that they should probably not be moving in with. And I'm not even talking about romantically. People that you don't get along, but you want to save on rent with a roommate.
Right.
Like you get rid of all, and you get rid of all the nodes of community and so what the book does is it gives out the problem. Like we acknowledge that this is a problem. Here's how you fix it in this culture, in American culture.
To add on to that, also like, people move far away from home more now than, the idea of like someone moving to another state to start their life even 30 years ago is kind of weird.
But again, that's such a US thing because, in Europe, you'll see that people are like, okay, I have to take care of my parents when they get older.
Right.
I can't move that far away.
Right.
But here it's like, oh, just send them to a, retirement home.
Right.
Elder care. Who cares?
My grandparents lived, half a mile away from where I lived. And then like, it's an important thing. Like, I'm going to move to Delray for the summer to see what it's like. And I'm like, a good part of it is like, oh, there's this like family nearby that makes, life a little less.
The moment I heard that you were going to Florida, I was just like, brilliant. That's where he should be because he should be close to his parents.
Yeah.
Like if you have a good relationship with your parents.
Should he move in with his parents?
He doesn't need to.
I'm not. I'm going to do the pool.
I feel like they already live together based on the content that he posts, but
Well, I stay with them, but no, I got my own place.
Yeah, that's fine. But like, I think it only builds your empathy to have that access to the older generation.
Right.
And I think that is what the loneliness epidemic is this lack, it's man box culture. I talk about this in my book, where it's constrained men to not experience certain emotions that women were encouraged to have as young kids.
Right.
And I talk about the male gaze, I talk about the female gaze, GAZE. And, I try to unpack like our reality so that we can date with understanding like, here's all the forces against you.
Right.
Because that there is a force against you to stay single. Your algorithm wants you to stay single.
Yeah, that's where they make all their money, right?
I have a question, but then we should do an email.
Yeah.
We should do an email,
Yeah.
but I have one question that I think, like, we talked in 2021. I mean, we talk a lot personally, but you talk to single people
Every day.
every day. What's the biggest, newest concern of men? What's the biggest, newest concern of women right now?
Right.
Like, if you were to like kind of boil it down to like what's
reality.
Yeah, what's in the atmosphere?
It's reality. Reality. We are all living in different realities right now. And I think that's the biggest struggle that I'm having. It's like, it's so far beyond. It used to be, before Trump got elected, it was the smoking deal breaker. Then in 2016, it became the Trump deal breaker. Then in 2021, it became I need to have access to all of my health care deal breaker, the women. And I had to teach so many men on Zooms what that means. Because they'd be like, well, I don't know if I believe in abortion after 8 weeks. And I'm like, let me tell you how many weeks I was pregnant when I found out I was pregnant. Like, what are these numbers yours?
Right.
So I had to start teaching. But anyway, then it's become now since November, it's a reality problem now. So like what's happened
Give me an
is
example, yeah.
Like a political divide.
it's way beyond it is a political divide, but it's like it's morals and it's
Right.
the reality that we're living
Ethical
in.
divide.
Yeah, so it's like, there was a time when our parents and us as teenagers, we got our news from like 3 or 4 stations.
Right.
And they were all kind of following the facts of the
Right.
day. Like here's your
Pre-streamlined,
video.
yeah.
And then you, Jared, and you, Jordana, could have your own personal solutions to the problem, but at least we're acknowledging what the problem is.
Right.
Right. Now our algorithm is taking us down our own also.
Algorithm, you have mainstream
goes, yeah.
media who they invite people on that they know are controversial, that are going to say the batshit insane thing on TV because they want the ratings. So they're platforming people that I don't necessarily think should be platformed, not because I disagree with them, but because it's like
Bad
what
actors.
you're saying is
Right.
not.
It's too infuriating.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And that's what they want. They want that feeling. And then you have the TikTok journalists who actually might be doing sometimes a better job of like producing like, okay, here's what's happening today. But then you have, again, bad actors on that channel as well. Then you have your own algorithm of people stitching this, opinions, whatever. So everyone has these really weird, contorted silos that are very individual. And what happens is, especially with men, is that they become so radicalized on this one thing that it makes them hard to have the empathy to be able to relate to women.
Right. Well, it sounds like what you're saying.
So funny.
Which I totally agree
Is it?
with. It's like
Scary.
I think
It's
it's this
scary. No, I
idea
had
of like everyone like doubling down on their own opinion and kind of like losing any of like the nuance for having a conversation about anything.
I don't
and seeing
think
the
most
other
people,
side.
and then when things do hit the fan, you are seen as a hysterical person for bringing it up.
The reality thing, I was on a date with someone
Mm-hmm.
and the woman was talking about, how crazy the subways in New York City are, how horrible they are. And I was like, and I'm like, listen, I can't say no to someone's experience. I go, did you have something happen? She's like, well, no, it's like crazy now. And it's like, and you hear this language about New York City and I go, I guess I'm lucky. I live in a part of the town where I generally see like the subways are the subway.
Yeah.
Like I don't really have, that's not my opinion of the subways. I do
Right.
understand there's people who see things on the subway. There's people with, and I even acknowledge, I'm like, I'm a lucky guy. Like the subway isn't like the biggest part of my life. I take the subway,
Yeah,
but like
yeah.
for someone, they might have a different experience. I'm like sitting there doing this like gymnastics to be like caring to her opinion.
Yeah.
Well, also I disagree with it, but also acknowledging there's people out there who are like, I take the subway every day from farther away because I want to pay less in rent. Like there's so much there. But I remember having this idea of like, I'm not sure if they're saying this from their perspective or if this is something they just say because it's the algorithm and it's their team. They
saw it on TikTok.
And they saw it on TikTok. And if having this opinion means that you also agree with me on 7 other subjects.
Right.
And it's so difficult. Like, like you said, like, it's not even political anymore. It's like, I was like, because I've heard this, like, the subways are crazy from someone in a country club in Boca. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here. You know, like, I just want to be like, I literally want to do what Jordana does. Take off the white glove, smack him in the face.
Is that what you do?
And go, shut the fuck up. You don't know what you're talking about. With this person on a date.
Yeah, you can't do that. You won't get a second date.
Right. But I also put it away. I go, I think we're different people.
Yeah. And I think...
Is that on the topic of what you're saying?
It is on the topic, but it's also, I think a lot more women have learned how to connect because of how our society is built, and a lot of men have not. You know, the last 6 months, I've gotten a lot of death threats for the opinions that I have in dating. And one of those opinions is, you know, another trend that I'm seeing is that there are a lot of gambling apps out there. And they're really targeting single men between the ages of 18, even though you're not allowed to bet under 18, but 18 to 24. Like, that's the demo. And what are these people? These are people that are probably in college, probably still a little immature because their frontal cortex is yet to fully develop, not understanding the consequence of if you spend $5 here, it accumulates over time. Anyway, and so some women have duly noted that this has become a deal breaker for them. I hear this from women. We meet 40 women a week for 1 hour interviews. Right. So one of the things that is picking up with women under 30 is the manosphere and also betting apps.
Do they see a correlation? Like, if you have a betting app, you might have a certain opinion of other things? Is that kind of what they're going with that?
That's the first correlation. But the second correlation is that you don't know what kind of, like, are we really watching the game because you really want to watch this basketball game? Or are you going to have a bad reaction if a parlay doesn't go through?
Because you're losing money.
Because you're losing money.
I mean, as a man who uses the betting apps, like, I do watch a game because I would have money on it. Or I watch a game and then put money on it because it makes it more fun to watch the game.
I appreciate that. I understand that, right? But you're also a 40-year-old man.
Right. Different. No. Listen, there's I think a lot of men have the story of the guy who got in too much debt in college from gambling. And that was pre.
Yeah, I have friends like
on
that.
Your phone.
I have friends like that.
We all had, like, every fraternity had a guy who went too deep.
But the trend is that is deeply increasing right now.
Right. They say I've seen these videos.
It's been really bad. It's getting bad, and it's just me acknowledging that on a podcast recently. It just the manosphere, and it was like I was like weirded out. I was like, oh God, like what did I unravel here?
Well, it's funny that, like, you're just saying what would turn off a woman, hypothetically, and the response of, like, I don't think anyone likes to hear any turnoff from, like, a hypothetical turnoff that they do. Like, this isn't a defense. I'm just saying, like, if you came on here and if a man came on a podcast and said, I'm hearing a lot from men who don't like, I don't even know what would the
TikTok,
women who go on TikTok.
That's the number one deal breaker for men.
Listen, I'm one of those men.
I have had men cancel dates with women.
You would do that. You would do that
because of that. And I'm like, what? I didn't even know she had a TikTok.
I can see that that's the female equivalent of a betting app.
It's not that she has a TikTok.
Like you keep feeding the algorithm, hoping to get the slot machine.
It's fine that she has a TikTok. It's the TikTokers who blog after every date.
I've done that.
It's specifically those women.
Or just, listen.
I wouldn't go on a date with someone who blogged after every date.
I'm
right. The dating podcaster.
Right. I'm like, listen, I'm okay. If someone said Jared has a dating podcast, I'm not going on the date. I would understand that. I don't think it gets understood as much from me when I see here's, someone trashing general men on TikTok. Like,
I don't even know if some of these people are actually going on dates or if they're just getting ready and making content.
Right.
Well, that might be the case. I saw someone the other day. They're posting, like, the screenshots of texts they got from guys. This is someone I probably would have gone on a date with. Out. I'm sorry. And I don't like this version of myself.
No, I think that's just as fair as not going on a date with someone because they're on a gambling app.
I agree with you. I think the feedback might be. And again, this is different than death threats.
What I'm trying to say is like what a weird reaction. You could just give a 1 star. You could just give a negative
No, it's
whatever.
horrible.
Right.
But it's
horrible.
like when
not
it's
a-
like,
nothing
I
to
hope you
apologize
abort
for.
your next child. I'm like, oh, thanks for giving me choice.
Wow.
Like,
Right.
like what?
That's fucking insane.
Yeah.
But I do think a
like,
woman
what
could
is-
say,
what is that?
the
It's an
response to
animal.
me that I don't want to go out with someone who makes TikToks about their dates. Well, why? What are you doing on the date? And I'd be like, I don't know. That's up to them. That's why I'm not going. It's under if two people there can be 3 truths, their side, my side, and the truth that's somewhere in the middle.
Right.
If they tell their side on an app that is very giving, eyes wise, to women with bad date stories,
Yeah.
those do well.
Yeah.
Just, so there is, incentive. I'm not saying that's the same. I just think that there's things people fear.
I think if a single man wanted to not be single, he has to do 3 things.
That's also true. This is for men to complain about dating. No one wants to hear that. That's not even.
It's just so easy.
It's
Go
easier, yes.
get literally Google online dating photographer and go get a photo shoot. That's the first thing. The second
Right.
thing is fill out your prompts and make sure nothing is negative. Don't
Right.
say no fatties. Don't say whatever you want, whatever your
You gotta edit
Yeah.
your profile
monkey
now.
brain. And the third thing is buy my book. I mean,
Buy
I
the
would say
book.
go to therapy, but they're
Buy
not going
the
to go to
book.
therapy. But
Jordan is
buy my book.
crushing me this episode. Crushing me.
What a tear.
We've had
Okay.
to cut out 7 minutes. If you're listening, keep this in. Okay? Okay, listen, everyone go buy the book. Let's do one email because we love
All right.
Matchmaker Maria.
Yes.
But we love her, but we want her to be completely successful and on the top 10 list. And when is this? Is it already out? The book's already out? Is it out?
Yeah.
You can pre-order, post-order, buy it now. I'll read the email. You ready? Because Jordana might tell everyone that I have, I'm Joe Rogan's biggest fan on my dating app or some shit.
That was my next one.
It
Yeah.
says
There you
Penn
go.
State on your.
Penn State? What? I can't go to a college that 40,000 people go
Biggest
to?
problem with men is that they go to Penn State.
I'm just a good guy.
Made it easy, okay?
Hey, J&J, love you both. Thanks for all the advice and laughs over the year. Here's my dilemma. My boyfriend, male 29, and I, woman 30, have been together almost 4 years, living together for about 9 months. A few months ago, we agreed to get engaged this summer.
Yay.
I agreed to get engaged. Okay. I'm in grad school, so I assume that meant sometimes between finals and mid-August. Now finals are a week away and crickets. No talk of rings, styles, shopping, nothing. We talk about the future, houses, weddings, post-grad plans, just not the actual engagement.
Study for your finals. I'm sorry,
got a
what
lot
are we
on our
talking
minds.
about right now?
I've already been the one to bring it up before, and I don't want to feel like I'm pushing it again. I want it to feel romantic, not like I project managed it. For context, I told him before we moved in that I didn't want to live together more than a year without being engaged. He said he understands and wants to make me happy, and that's how we landed on this summer for an engagement. But he's also consistently said he's happy with how things are. And while he wants marriage and everything eventually, he's not in a hurry and isn't worried about having kids
getting
late in our
so
30s,
angry
which I
right now.
am. Do I just step back here and, as Dr. Naomi would say, breathe through the 10th and 11th weddings we attend together this summer while I feel silently judged for not being engaged? Is there a way to point out to my boyfriend that you can't get a ring overnight in case he's somehow not thought about that? He's generally not the best at planning things in advance, especially curious your thoughts on if he's oblivious to the logistics or intentionally dragging this out. Thanks, a no ring spring betch.
What do you think?
I'm like angry. There's like a rant now forming.
Let's
in
hear
me.
your rant.
Let's hear it.
Just really quick point of clarification.
Go off, sis.
She's 28. He's 29.
She's 30. He's 29.
They've been together for 4 years.
4 years.
Lived together 9 months.
Yeah.
All right. I say this in my book.
Okay.
I know it's what I'm about to say is controversial. I have answers for all the controversy. I don't think you should be living with anyone before you're engaged if your goal is to get married one day. What that does is delay engagement because people will look at, okay, we'll live together. We can push back the milestone. And there are going to be people that are going to be like, fuck you, Maria. I want to test drive this. They're not a car. They're a human. You can certainly live in their apartment for a month, or they can live in your apartment for a month. You could do both actually and see how you house manage. Oh, but I want to know if they're clean before I move in with them. You need to be two adults to have an adult conversation about how you're going to manage the household when you live together. right?
Okay.
That doesn't happen magically once you get engaged. That has to happen when you move in. But and the third is, for me, it's like
it's too late for her, right?
It's well, you know, she needs to have. Well, I'll get to her for a second. I just want to see like where the incorrect part was here, which is like when you move in. If you have, look, you can move in together with someone before you're engaged. It's fine. I'm not mad at you. I don't care. But you need to have a really serious conversation about, okay, what is the timeline here, right? We've been together for 4 years. What is the timeline? Because these are my 3-year goals. And if you can't agree on those, you don't move in together. Now, in this young woman's case, I would break up. They've been together for 4 years and an age group where things could have happened by now. All right. He is not having that conversation with you. He knows that it's finals week. You're clearly stressed over this because let's face it, when we're waiting for the ring, we're like weirdos. We keep getting manicures every 10 days. They usually last 3 weeks, Jared. And
good to know.
Yeah. And it's like, it's you know, you kind of get a little resentful if you're waiting too long. I've seen it with my friends. And I remember what it was like right before I got engaged. And you're like, come on, hurry up. He could appease her during finals week. Once this gets done, we're going to have the future that you want. But he's not doing that. You know why? Because he likes you as the roommate and having the girlfriend experience. It's been 4 years. He should have proposed a year and a half ago, I think.
Right.
Even though they said they'd get engaged this summer?
Okay.
I just
Based on how she's writing it, she seems skeptical.
Right. Well, I mean, it's not this summer yet, though.
Well, right.
Like,
I guess the idea is like you made this agreement, let the deadline pass and then have that conversation.
I think she should just bring it up again. There's nothing, look, this is the biggest decision you're going to have. No engagement, no good marriage comes from some surprise engagement where you don't talk about what it's going to be like married to each other one day.
Right.
That doesn't happen.
Here's the other thing. He's not oblivious.
No.
Any guy dating someone over 2 years knows this is the next conversation.
Yeah.
You're 4 years. You're 2 years away from when this was on his mind and he knows it's on her mind. So like that's the answer to her question. Like, is he just like not doing this right?
No, he's not oblivious.
This guy
He knows what's happening.
He knows what's happening. He knows how she feels. But I understand the idea of like you said you've made this due date. Like,
well, has she been like, let's go look at rings? Did she said that?
What she should do,
That's my
if I
question.
were,
right, but that's her saying, I don't want to make it not romantic, but I understand.
It's already not romantic.
It's already not romantic. Let's move on from
She's
that.
already pissed off.
Here's what you do. Here's what you do. I've done this for a few friends. If she were in front of me right now, this is the advice I would give her. What's the name of your best friend? Catherine. Great. Send Catherine the Pinterest board. What Pinterest board? You know the Pinterest board. The Pinterest board with all the rings that you like, that are pretty. You're going to send it to her. Catherine knows what to do. Catherine's going to call your boyfriend and be like, let's go ring shopping.
Don't you think she should just say to him, like, hey, like,
yeah,
we were supposed to get engaged this summer. It's May. We haven't talked about rings. I want to make sure you know what to get me.
I don't like it when girls go and do it, but that's my opinion.
I guess I like the idea of like, let's get the friends to like fuck with this guy a little bit.
Like you still want him to choose you, not feel forced.
That's kind of what she's asking for. But I do think like, hey, when's our trip?
Well, I agree. Like an engagement is a real thing.
When should I go get a manicure?
Right.
Well, an engagement's like you said, like a real thing. I think it should be discussed. Obviously, there's like a romance, a surprise element of it, but there's also like if we're in a good, healthy relationship and we have good communication, then like I should be able to tell you like I'm getting a little anxious that you like that we haven't actually even talked about rings. And we're supposed to get engaged in this summer and it's May. I think what you just said to this person who sent that question and should rewind it 15 seconds and listen to what you just said, because that's exactly what she should say. I'm feeling anxious. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about it. Like, just talk about it.
Can I give her advice on
He's not going to break up with you over your anxiety. He might break up because he's not interested.
If he was going to, if he was going to break up with you over your anxiety, he was going to break up with you anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, this breakup's coming or it's an engagement.
Yeah.
It's one or the other. I will give her advice that won't work. Let me just like let
Go
her
ahead.
know what's not going to work.
Let's hear it.
There's a sentence in her email that like I can
was
see what
thinking
she's
of that
like.
sentence too, yeah.
She's fucked if she goes this direction. The 10th and 11th weddings we attend this summer, while I feel silently judged for not being
Men hate that. Men
because
hate
it's not
that,
true.
yeah.
I don't think I've
gives a
ever
fuck about
judged
you.
anybody.
Right.
I'm not thinking about you.
It's just not going to work to make me feel bad. No one. His argument back will be, no one at this wedding cares that much about you being engaged.
No one's even
cares.
looking
Or like,
at
why
you.
would you
Right.
base your life decisions around someone thinking that you're
Right. It makes you sound bad. It makes you sound
I
vain.
agree. Leave that
makes
out of it. Leave that out of it.
Leave that out. I'm just saying. I'm giving you the.
I agree.
The tool chest to use. If you bring that up, it will make you sound like you just want to be engaged and you don't care to be engaged to him, because you want to be engaged because of the judgment. So
this is a really good advice, Jared. Why did you sell yourself short?
There's no who sold myself short.
Did you just say I'm going to give advice? No one's going to listen or something?
No,
he said I'm going to give advice about what not to do.
This is what not to do.
got it.
Yeah, I just think in addition to
like,
this
this
is
is great.
like this is gonna be this is the helpful advice,
Yeah.
but she's gonna say, well, if it doesn't work, I'll do this thing where I'll tell them that everyone at the wedding's gonna be judging me.
They've been
Don't do
dating
that.
Make it about you.
Yeah.
I want to get married. I want to get married this summer. I want
wanna
to
be
get
married-
engaged this summer. I want to know that we're on the same page.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not about your friends.
Yeah.
The minute you bring up the friends and keeping up with the Joneses, it doesn't sell to a guy because we don't have Joneses to keep up with.
You know, the timeline question is the most popular question I get on Ask a Matchmaker Wednesdays on
Yeah.
Instagram. It's the by far.
How do I get someone to?
Yeah, and I have avoided answering that question for years, since 2018. And then I wrote chapter 11 about it. Like, I was like, okay, we're going to finally tackle this stupid question I get. I mean, I must get like 30 questions every Wednesday about it.
What's
Yeah.
the general question? What's the timeline? When should someone?
when should I get married? When should I get engaged? When should I say I
when
love
should
you?
someone- when
Whatever
should-
has to do
Right.
with time.
Yeah.
I get.
Do you have time rules for this?
I do.
How long until you're engaged after you start dating?
I mean, I'd say by 3 years, the max.
3 years max?
Yeah, 9 months earliest.
My God, I'm right under the bullet.
You made it. You can't get mad at Mike anymore.
Yeah, I mean, if you're over 28.
Okay.
It
When you
gets-
start dating.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you're over 27, yeah, 20. Yeah. If you're under 27,
How long until exclusivity?
okay.
The lightning round.
To me,
At the
it's
end.
6 weeks. I'll give you up to 3 months, but it's 6 weeks.
Okay,
if I'm
6
being
weeks
honest
to
with
3
you.
months for exclusivity. How long till I love you?
I'm sorry. When I say exclusivity, I mean boyfriend girlfriend.
Yes.
I don't
Right.
believe that
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
separated.
Here's what I'll
yeah.
say. If
They're
you're
not separated to me.
If you're 6 weeks without exclusivity, that means
They're
someone's
never-
thinking of how to end this.
Right. Yeah.
That's when the how to end this begins.
Yeah. What's your next one?
I love you.
On average, I've noticed that it happens between like 6 weeks and 3 months, but I will give people up to 7 months.
Up to 7 months. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Some people sitting there sweating listening to this episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this and you're not in those
Look,
time frames.
I've gotten either through matchmaking or through my advice. I stopped counting a long time ago, but I know it's well over 5,000 people have gotten married through me.
Wow.
Yeah.
So like we track
10%
these
of
things.
those are from you up.
That's
Yeah.
right. Well,
We track these things, right?
I think
So-
anyone can. That's the hardest thing you have to deal with is that like that we deal with, that you deal with. I'm sure is like the one person that has the story that goes against it all.
That's why they make the news.
Right.
Right? When J-Lo and
Affleck
got back together, it made the news.
Didn't
It was
work,
like,
though.
oh, the one that got away is back. Didn't work.
But that's why that's why people go for it.
This couple dated 60 years ago and they reunited in the,
Well, that's the rom-com.
it's
Right.
like, yeah, I'm like, okay, that's the
The
news.
exception, not the rule. All right. We did it. Guys, go buy Matchmaker Maria's book, Ask a Matchmaker.
Link in the bio.
Available everywhere books are sold, I
Yeah,
assume.
and audio.
Out now. Go buy it. You'll get this and much more wisdom. Thank you so much for coming on. And or if you're looking for a matchmaker, how do they contact you for matchmaking?
AgapeMatch.com, matchmakermaria.com. Just go on Instagram and follow all the links there. They're all there.
They're all
Go on
there.
Instagram.
It
You'll
just
guys will
makes it
find
so much easier. you know?
Yes.
Back next week.
Bye.
Boom.